Hi, my name is Callie Moynihan. I'm currently 32 years old and I live in Savage, Minnesota. I was diagnosed May of 2020 with stage 2 thymoma cancer. Fast forward a year later, after giving birth to my first child, I found out that it had progressed to stage 4. At just 31 years old, with a 2-month-old baby, I was given the worst news possible, a terminal diagnosis. Thymoma is extremely rare. In fact, not even 1% of the population has been diagnosed with it. Therefore, making the prognosis and outcome per individual very challenging. With that being said, my oncologist never really gave me a true prognosis. It wasn't until I started learning about being my own advocate that I uncovered the stage 4 prognosis with a 20% chance of survival at the 5-year mark. I've had 2 surgeries within the past 2 years, and I'm currently coming up on 1 year, no evidence of disease. At the time of my first diagnosis in May of 2020, it was the height of the pandemic that all of a sudden I started experiencing chest pain. It progressively got worse, and then I had decided to go into the ER. They discovered a tumor the size of an orange in my chest that had ruptured. From the ER, I was admitted to the hospital for emergency surgery. My husband dropped me off at the hospital doors, and I spent 6 days in the hospital by myself. Due to my age and my health otherwise, the doctors assumed it was benign. Sure enough, weeks later, the pathology came back as stage 2 thymoma cancer. It was devastating. I was told by my oncologist that I would need to proceed with chemo, and that if I wanted kids, I would need to start in vitro fertilization right away. Because of the rupture and rarity of the type of cancer, we decided to gain multiple opinions from doctors specializing in thymoma. We ended up with mixed opinions from oncologists on whether or not I should proceed with treatment, given the success of the surgery. At that time, I had only sought out guidance from the most reputable thymoma doctors in the country and had yet not discovered any alternative treatments, let alone metabolic therapies. Ultimately, a clear PET scan led our decision to observe and monitor with regular scans every 3 months. I immediately stopped IVF treatment and was so relieved to not have to do chemo. So I proceeded with life as it was before cancer. Come November of 2020, following my stage 2 diagnosis and successful removal of the tumor, my husband Sean and I found out we were expecting a baby. I am so grateful to share that my pregnancy was healthy and full term. Our son Maverick entered the world June of 2021. Because of pregnancy, I did not get a scan for 10 months. I was dreading even having to think about cancer as I was blissfully navigating being a new mom. The results indicated the cancer had metastasized into the pleural cavity, exactly what everyone had feared as worst case scenario from the tumor rupture. We had been told that this is a slow-growing cancer, and I found myself questioning, how did it grow so fast? Was mine really that aggressive? No one could answer that. Instead of focusing on a prognosis, the focus was on if it was operable or not, and if so, if I would need chemo before to try to shrink the tumor before surgery. I was given the go-ahead by an experienced surgeon to proceed with surgery without chemo. At that time, I had felt I had dodged another bullet and pushed chemo to the side. The plan was to revisit the treatment discussion after surgery. The day I found out that the cancer had came back and the day I went in for surgery were only 6 weeks apart. My medical team felt, because I was young and healthy otherwise, that they wanted to proceed with an aggressive surgery to maximize the outcome. My family and I were just anxious to get the cancer out because at this point, it grew way faster than anyone had anticipated. The type of cancer surgery was aggressive. It involved the removal of my diaphragm that would be replaced with mesh, stripping of my pleural lining, removal of a small portion of my right lung, and removal of my rib to access the cancer. It still amazes me what I endured almost a year ago today. During that time a year ago, I felt like I was drowning in fear. Those moments were undeniably devastating. Am I going to die in my 30s? How will my family handle life without me? I have a newborn baby to raise and so much more life to live. How could this happen to me? These thoughts were intense throughout the first few months of my journey. I can't deny that I don't get those feelings anymore. They can get triggered when I talk about the future, or triggered when I have an upcoming scan, or even when I get completely overwhelmed. I quickly got to a point where I was truly exhausted of constantly thinking that way. I recognized my desire and will to live was so much stronger than my negative thoughts. The surgery day came, and there was a very scary complication. During surgery, the surgeon discovered a nodule on my vena cava. While removing it, my vena cava tore and I lost a liter of blood. Urgently, they had to give me a blood transfusion. The surgical team thought I might not have made it. I spent 10 days in the hospital with close monitoring and chest tubes. I gained 22 pounds of fluid in the hospital. We were pleased to learn that the surgeon got all the cancer out that she could. However, there was more cancer found than anticipated. Therefore, the surgeon recommended chemo as a precautionary action following surgery. There was a strong inner voice inside of me saying not to proceed with chemo, yet I knew my family was on board. We decided to collect second opinions again. They actually did not end up recommending chemo. Since there was no cancer detected on a latest scan, they brought up the fact that there would be no measurement of success on if the chemo would work or not. An analogy that was brought up to our attention was, why drop the atomic bomb when you can't see the enemy? That analogy resonated with everyone because we also learned that most first-line chemo drugs become resistant after the first go-around. I had yet dodged another bullet. This time, I was hoping it was for good. I was so eager to come up with a plan that would prioritize my health and get my body feeling well. I knew I would do whatever it takes to not be a part of the statistics. Given my strong desire to live, I just immediately submersed myself in research. But at the very beginning, naturally, all of my research was so fear-driven. Searching for answers to validate my livelihood. Entering search terms in Google like, what are the odds I'll survive thymoma? What stage am I? Desperately trying to figure out if there was anyone out there like me that had survived. My prognosis and stage were actually never addressed by my oncologist. It wasn't until the week before surgery that I decided to ask him myself. He ended up confirming my 20% chance of living past the 5-year mark, as well as my stage 4 prognosis. Although the path I was on wasn't of the standard treatment protocol given my 2 surgeries and unique situation, while I was frustrated that he didn't share my prognosis with me beforehand to better understand the impact surgery would have on the outcome, I also recognized that my situation didn't fit the statistics. So what I took from that meeting reminds me of the famous line from the movie Dumb and Dumber saying, "So you're saying there's a chance." All jokes aside, that was the first time my family fully recognized my stage 4 diagnosis. Everyone's fears were brought to the forefront. There was denial, sadness, and shock in their faces. At this point, I knew I was stage 4 due to my research. I held in so much fear-driven information that I was reading. Once my family was able to process it all, it allowed for more discussion and action. It's so important to get your family and whomever it is that's in your support system caught up on everything. I realized how much suffering I was enduring by hiding information I either knew would scare them or challenge them. So being your own advocate is also not just taking the driver's seat with your medical team, but being open and defining boundaries and expectations for your support system as you go through this journey together. As hard as it was to build the courage to talk about my survival, it ended up motivating me to ramp up my health and do whatever it took to heal. I am grateful for the strength I had when facing and accepting the truth of my diagnosis. Another element about being your own advocate is checking in with yourself and listening to your body. It's about recognizing when something may not be working for you anymore, or giving yourself grace if you get off course. Envision yourself on the road to healing and what that looks like. Write down your priorities and what you're going to do to get there. Define your reason for living, the why in which you carry on with every decision you carry out for yourself. I envision my husband and I being fortunate to one day expand our family. You see, somewhere down the line, I started to recognize it wasn't about beating something that I was unlucky to get anymore. It was about acceptance and turning my focus into healing. I've had to do a lot of mindfulness practice and retraining of my subconscious mind to develop the resilience I wish to exude day in and day out. I tend to be very hard on myself and in turn expect a lot out of others. I can be too rigid and deal with the guilt when I have gone off course. This programming doesn't change overnight. I plan to run into this throughout the course of my life, but with regular practice and effort, I am able to release these emotions more effectively than before. I encourage you to read the books Radical Remission, The Emotion Code, and The Body Keeps Score for more on emotional healing and how much impact it has. Thank you all for getting this far and listening to my journey. I'm so deeply appreciative of your time. I know that this is the part of the discussion that carries the most weight. I know because when I was collecting this information, it reminded me of how much work and time it has taken me to feel like I've got a good routine down. I would quickly add a lot of new things at one time, and I would quickly get burnt out. My cortisol was rising, my hormones and thyroid were also affected. I knew I needed to slow down and not bombard myself with constant information that all contradicts each other. There are so many camps out there, whether you're vegan, keto, juicing, raw, you're following an alkaline diet. You name it, people are doing it. That's why listening to your body and having trusted providers that have personalized your healing plan will help you stay on course and focused. One of the first things I did before surgery was work with a breath coach. I thought to myself, I should probably get some good breathing strategies in before I lose a diaphragm. So little did I know I would end up learning about the vagus nerve and the importance of regulating your autonomic nervous system. She taught me the importance of reducing your time in fight or flight mode, aka the sympathetic state of the nervous system. I can assure you that with a diagnosis, your fight or flight mode is very dominant. She taught me how to signal the body into the parasympathetic, which is the ideal state in maximizing restorative and healing signals to the body. It was through that practice I further developed a morning routine that incorporated things like meditation, breathing, journaling, stretching, and reciting affirmations. Please make time for reducing morning stress and also winding down at night. It's so important. Little did I know my breathwork coach worked part-time at a functional medicine clinic. She then connected me to a practitioner that was actively helping people either stay in remission from cancer or helped people shrink their tumors. It was the week before surgery that I started my care at Newbridge Health and Wellness Clinic in Edina, Minnesota. I was able to get in with the nutritionist at the functional medicine clinic to discuss diet planning and pre and post surgery. She encouraged Walter Longo's fasting mimicking diet. Also, I immediately started cutting out processed sugars and packaged foods, upping my vegetables and eating more healthy fats, and also reducing my carbohydrates. I had family support in preparing for my foods for the hospital, as well as when I was at home recovering, to ensure that I would stay on track. That was super critical. 1 month after surgery, I saw the functional medicine practitioner at Newbridge. My practitioner is mentored by Dr. Thomas Seyfried and is helping people actively heal their body from cancer by creating individualized protocols tailored to treat underlying causes of illness and getting to the root cause. It was after the first visit, I immediately went in for various testing. She ordered the most lab work I had ever collected in my life. She recommended I do a urine test, a stool test, and went through a very thorough documentation of my body and entire history. To much dismay, we uncovered that I had heavy metal toxicity, fungal infection, mold infections, parasites, Lyme co-infections, all these things to address. Instead of feeling completely overwhelmed and not knowing how to tackle all of this, my practitioner sent me home with a very targeted plan to prioritize it all. Ever since then, we've been tackling these issues one by one, and we've been monitoring the results with quarterly testing. I will truly never forget leaving that very first appointment, let alone any appointment I have to this day, feeling relieved and hopeful that our plan is getting me healthier than ever. It was immediately after the first visit, she insisted I started a therapeutic ketogenic diet, along with intermittent fasting and a few block fasts here and there. I had already cut out refined sugars and most processed foods. I'm not going to lie, getting into ketosis was very challenging. I think due to the amount of pharmaceuticals and toxins in my body after surgery. I was experiencing a lot of nausea. I had to achieve a level of a 1.0 GKI as much as possible. The GKI number is an index that factors your glucose and your ketone numbers. I got a Keto Mojo and to track my numbers through that. The easiest way to get into a consistent state of ketosis was fasting for me. I have been very regularly fasting at least 12 to 16 hours daily ever since, along with throwing in some 24-hour fasts weekly. Fasting has been extremely helpful in managing my pain, energy levels, and improving my ketones and my GKI. To support keto and fasting, I started metformin to help control glucose spikes, as well as a series of other off-label drugs and supplements. Since it was such a struggle for me to stay in ketosis and find excitement in the foods I was eating, I started seeking a better strategy. I came across my now keto mentor, Ben Azadi, the founder of Keto Camp. I joined his academy, and it truly accelerated my ability to stay in therapeutic ketosis because he provides such valuable information that is needed to sustain this new lifestyle. After about 4 weeks into the program, I felt more energy, I had lost excess weight from the surgery, and my brain felt sharper than ever. It was just 1 month after being in consistent state of therapeutic ketosis that I was able to reduce my inflammation markers like C-reactive protein and my sedimentation rate from being in the 30s, which is off the charts, to my C-reactive protein being at a 0.3 and my sed rate being at a 4. Not to mention other numerous major victories from my lab numbers. I was also learning from the book How to Starve Cancer and had joined the Facebook group that supports it. I realized how extensive these protocols can be. However, my functional medicine doctor was instrumental in helping me outline my daily supplement routine. In order to get the body into a healing state, its terrain must be assessed and addressed. Dr. Nasha Winters has been monumental in my understanding of all of this. I have listened to many podcasts featuring her, as well as resorting back to her book, The Metabolic Approach to Cancer. It is easy and intuitive to read and captures many healing strategies. As the days continued, I was constantly learning about healing modalities and trying my best to prioritize it all. The mental and spiritual elements were undeniably essential in maintaining and adjusting my routine. I started sauna therapy and ensuring that I sweat just about every day. I incorporated red light therapy, again, just about every day. I have reduced my EMF exposures. I've identified and removed a lot of toxins. But for example, we had our home tested and resolved some mold growth that was happening in our laundry room. However, I know that we can't avoid toxin exposure. We deal with it every day. So therefore, my detox protocol is daily. Along with sauna, I take supplements to support detox. I rebound, do regular coffee enemas, magnesium baths, cold showers, and nightly castor oil packs. I like to do at least one of these one a day. I have focused on grounding and sun exposure and being in nature. Luckily, with a mobile baby, I am constantly on the move. I go on multiple walks daily, and I like to think my weight training is picking up Maverick all day long. I also love yoga and stretching. When I'm feeling stressed, I turn on music or calming music or music that just makes me want to dance and feel alive. I listen to and practice daily affirmations to reprogram my subconscious mind. I am continually working on letting SHIT go. I've recently started doing EMDR therapy to release trapped emotions in the body. I drink clean water and bring my own water bottle everywhere I go. I also implement healthy electrolytes, and when I do drink coffee or tea, I ensure it's organic and high quality. I am constantly in the kitchen prepping. My go-to meal is to chop up as many vegetables as I can, zhuzh it up with some sauce, some avocado, some healthy fat oil, and rotate my protein sources from wild-caught salmon, pasture-raised eggs, organic chicken, grass-fed beef, or other plant proteins like hemp seeds. I would not have come this far without my huge help of my support system. It has taken a village. You can get a lot of what I do daily by following my Instagram account called Heal with Cancer. My husband has been on board and has supported my drastic lifestyle changes. However, financially, we've taken a huge hit. We've spent tens of thousands of dollars on alternative treatments alone and doing things in the house that, made us feel like we were starting over. We have had multiple payment plans add up with medical providers that feel never ending. We've sacrificed holding out on our plans to have a new home. Their credit card balances are maxed out. And I truly have a hard time saying no to certain treatments because I know I can't afford them. The financial struggle is real and hard to talk about. I so deeply wish that these treatments that I am doing to improve the outcome of my life were covered by insurance. My medical team did not recommend I do anything different with diet and lifestyle. I specifically asked if they had seen any success stories with keto and fasting. One of the oncologists did actually acknowledge the benefits of fasting, but considering I did not need to lose weight, he didn't see the value. I was hardly shocked when every doctor I went to had nothing to say about nutrition and lifestyle. I continued to ask because I was hoping to find an oncologist that possibly had taken the time to research on further nutrition and environmental factors. I still have yet to find one. Leading a path of purpose isn't natural for everybody, myself included. My whole life, I felt like I was called to do great things, but I never felt like I was getting there. I was always pretty confident in my skills and excited about the goals I had for the future. However, for a while, I felt stuck. I felt stuck in a career I wasn't passionate about, and I started comparing myself to others on social media and seeing others lead a life that I wanted to lead. I knew it was in me somewhere, but I was scared to take a risk. I also recognized the amount of physical pain I ignored most of my 20s. Now, I'm not connecting this directly to my cancer diagnosis, but looking back, I believe the pain I experienced for so long was my body's way of signaling me. I've suffered years of jaw pain, headaches, bladder and pelvic pain, acid reflux, heartburn, interstitial cystitis, IBS symptoms, and I would constantly take ibuprofen, Tums, and other over-the-counter medicines to relieve it. It seemed normal that I was dealing with these issues. The reason I think that this message is important to share is because cancer can take years to develop on a scan. If your body is chronically giving you symptoms over and over Instead of masking the symptoms with over-the-counter medicine, I encourage people to explore and seek professional advice from practitioners that can help you search for the root cause of what is going on. By working towards homeostasis of the body and by leaning into warning signs can absolutely save you from a life-threatening disease. It wasn't until I had stage 4 cancer that I got serious about investigating what was going on in my body. I've developed an overwhelming sense of passion and motivation to spread this message. Putting this video together holds so much weight and meaning for me. Life is worth living. Being given a statistic on the outcome of your life doesn't mean you have to believe it. And I encourage you, please don't believe it. I believe in the body's innate ability to heal itself given the right environment. Surround yourself with people that are walking this journey with you. You are not alone. No one can relate to your exact journey because that's exactly it. It's yours. Your pain that you've endured your whole life, the trauma that lives inside of you, the fears you've collected in your lifetime, all of it is unique. Just as our pain is unique to us, so is our ability to heal. That's what makes each of us so special and a true gift on this earth. I hope this message provides a sense of hope and instead of fear, light instead of darkness, and purpose instead of pain. Thank you so much.